As an album, how is It Was Written different from Illmatic? Both, let's start off first of all, sound-wise.
Sound-wise is that musically, you know, we just wanted to aim at, you know, more people than just Queensbridge, you know what I mean? As a musician, you grow, you know what I mean? It's Queensbridge music, but we didn't want to keep it out here just that, like that. We want to give it to everybody. We want everybody to vibe with us, because everybody going through the same thing.
And lyrically, how does it differ from Illmatic?
Lyrically, it may talk about different points of views since Illmatic, since I've grown, you know what I mean? And it's talking about something that was always meant to be here, you know what I mean? It's like every rapper's a prophet to me. And not to look at it so serious, but it's like that with me. I take rap serious. Like Rakim said, I take this more serious than just a poem, you know what I mean? That right there, you know, is real.
Running it down on these niggas. Sex, drugs, money, and murder, my nigga. You know how we get it, my nigga. Still be painting them bitches, my nigga. Ripping that raw and fucking your bitches. Sex, drugs, money, and murder. 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 Niggas, they never gon' hurt you. Niggas, they never will hurt you. Sex, drugs, money, and murder. Sex, drugs, money, and murder.
Got the traps right, understand how to get that. Ran down on them niggas with a flip back, new and
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Bullets Gotti. I wanted to do a video to talk about the 25th anniversary of It Was Written. One of my favorite Nas albums. Now, you know, I like I Am. I like Illmatic. I like Life Is Good. I like God's Son. You know, I like King's Disease. I like The Lost Tapes 1 and 2. I like Distant Relatives. I like Untitled, which is another favorite Nas album of mine. I like Nas Said to a certain extent. It was not a bad album. But It Was Written is one of those albums that I say that's underappreciated and that doesn't get a lot of credit by critics. It don't get a lot of credit by critics. And I think why I don't get a lot of credit by critics, because how Nas basically has so much momentum off of doing the first album, Illmatic. Now, in my opinion, It Was Written had better production, okay? You had the likes of Trackmasters, Primo, Dr. Dre, LES was on there. That album, in my opinion, solidified Nas to a certain level in hip-hop and gave him the throne right there. And not only that, gave him his first #1, and, you know, he took the #1 spot from Garth Brooks. Okay, he took the #1 spot. A lot of people don't know that. He took the #1 spot from Garth Brooks when that album dropped. Was nominated for a Grammy. It was the hottest album of the year. 96 was Nas's year. 96 was Pac's year, Nas' year, and the Fugees' year. That was the year that Nas had the game locked with Pac, Fugees, Nas. Those three right there, you can't go wrong. They ruled 1996. It Was Written, in my opinion, was one of the best produced albums. It was one of the best storytelling. I'm talking about the stories on there was so deep. I'm talking about songs like Shootout. What's my joint up there? Setup was hard. Watch Them Niggas, I Gave You Power, Black Girl Laws, Affirmative Action, Street Dreams. Nas Is Coming. I didn't really too like Nas Is Coming, but you know, If I Rule the World, you know, like I could go more, cause that album was, come on, Taken in Blood. Come on, my nigga. Silent Murder, which should have been on the album. Silent Murder should have been on It Was Written. It Was Written, in my opinion, with him hooking up with Steve Stout to do It Was Written was the best motherfucking thing ever. Ever. He took Nas to the next level with that album. That album right there was a Dawn's album. When you listen to that album all the way through, you got to sit there and say, yo, that album right there is one of the best albums ever made in hip-hop. Everybody going to talk about Illmatic. And I get the nostalgic you know, love for that album. But let's stop it, man. Like, It Was Written is the best album that Nas ever did. That album inspired a lot of rappers after him. Because Nas, the way he was kicking it on that album was crazy. The message was crazy. The message was crazy. That album is the most appreciated album in hip hop history. It's underappreciated, you know what I'm saying, by hip hop fans and hip hop heads. But it's very appreciated by the ones, the peers, the rap peers, the dudes that's superiors, the dudes that are rappers, you know, appreciate that album. In my opinion, I thought that album really was like Nas' inkling of him being the king of New York, getting the crown, taking it from Biggie, and being the top dog. 96 was a great year for Nas. If you just listen to that album front to back, it's bangers. 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 Like, the album is it's smashing. It's a straight smashing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, like, even him having Stretch on the album. I forgot Stretch even produced Taking in Blood and Solid Murder. And Stretch even being on the album was another, you know, was a classic. You know, the intro, which was classic. You know what I'm saying? The intro was classic. You know, Black Girls Lost with the Stephanie Mills sample. I mean, all the samples that he had on that album, the video, like him working with Hype to do Street Dreams and If I Rule the World, like, the videos was crazy. Like, to me, like, him introducing Cormega and Foxy, the whole firm, like, introducing them on that album. You know, Live Nigga Rap was crazy. Suspect was crazy. You know what I'm saying? There was joints on there that was like, yo, this nigga Nas he wilding on this album. You know what I'm saying? It was so much of him wilding on that album. It's like, it was crazy. Like, Solid Murder is the only record that I think that should have been on that album. It was crazy because that was one of the best songs on that album. Straight up and down. Solid Murder is one of the best records off that whole album. You go back and you listen to the album front to back. Solid Murder was wicked. Like, the sample. Like that. He said, it's sort of like the conclusion, the color purple. Brothers is losing, pursuing, one time more pursuits, moving. Rapping sick in the school kick. He cop versus the block. Lesson number one, if you arrested and hung. It's in the, gotta keep your on your tongues. It's like Silent Murder. I hit blunts hard like Ray Mercer. He said, the violent, it's a palace of purses, the cognac blurger, plus the trees. Now who's the fat one that pick his nose, take a bleed? It got enough gold, of rock, ice, and all hype. Used to be a general, but just lost his strike pipe dreams and white fiends and all-nighters. Collect calls, his life is story of wars. Cause I got a problem with the law writers. Nigga Nas, he was dumping. That second album right there was a dumper. That whole album was one of the best. That album influenced a lot of niggas, man. Tupac loved that album. Nigga Pac was bumping that shit front to fucking back. Album was hot. You know what I'm saying? Between that album, Do or Die, Life After Death, Only Built for Cuban Links, was the album for the hustlers. Those are the three albums that you gotta say that was like the streets was really rocking with it. Like, that whole Reasonable Doubt, it's no knock on Jay. No knock on Reasonable Doubt. Reasonable Doubt is a great album. But Reasonable Doubt wasn't fucking with It Was Written. I'm sorry. It wasn't fucking with It Was Written. It Was Written changed the game. It Was Written set the tone. It Was Written was the album. The streets love that album. Tupac did Me and My Girlfriend because of I Gave You Power. That record was hot. It Was Written had 96 in a smasher. That album set a different tone as an artist. You had to step it up after that album because Nas was coming with it. You know what I'm saying? That album deserves to be, you know, credited as Nas's best album all times. Niggas want to talk about this whole Illmatic. Illmatic is cool. But is Illmatic better than It Was Written? Hell no. Hell no. Illmatic is not touching It Was Written. It's not touching it. Production-wise, storytelling-wise, everything, let alone, that album is mean. And like I said, you got Premier, you got Dre, you got Havoc, you got LES, you got Trackmasters, Live Squad, Rashid Smith. You got a whole album where it's classics. I could sit there and listen to that album front to back, and I could tell you that album was one of the most polished album I ever heard in my life. Listening If I Rule the World, which was one of my favorite records off there. You could be poor or rich, still nobody want a nigga having shit. That video was so hard. My nigga in the middle of Times Square with Lauryn Hill. Hype fucking was a genius, my nigga. The neon lights. Nas was jiggying it before Puff. Puff and them niggas was jigging it, but Puff and them niggas wasn't jigging it like how Nas was jigging it. Like Nas was on his flashy shit for that album. My nigga was wearing Armani shit, suited up, fly, swag, cigar smoking, neon lights. Like the video was crazy. It's crazy. That record was crazy. You know? That was a mainstream record that took it to the next fucking level. You know what I'm saying? That took that shit to the next fucking level, man. Mainstream wise, niggas is like, they scratch their head to this day and say, yo, how that nigga Nas, kill the fucking, like the game the way he did. It's because, my nigga, Nas was different, bro. In my opinion, till this day, I still say they won't have another. It's not another nigga that's gonna be great as a Nasir Jones. You know what I'm saying? It's never gonna be another rapper that'll do what he did with It Was Written. It Was Written, in my opinion, solidify a nigga's legacy. You know what I'm saying? Like Illmatic, yeah, that was a hard album. It was a hard album. But in my opinion, Illmatic wasn't on that level, and not only the level, but the legacy of It Was Written. It was just different. It was just different. The way he set the tone with that album, nobody ever can do what he did with that album, and went 3 times platinum. Top Golf Brooks. That album, Top Golf Brooks, had the highest budget video If I Rule the World. And then the budget went even more crazier when he did Street Dreams, the remix and the original. So that album was crazy. Nigga had R. Kelly on the remix. Which they should have put R. Kelly in the video on the original record. But the original record was fire, just like the remix, my nigga. Nigga had R. Kelly on the remix, nigga. It Was Written. It will always be a classic album. It's my favorite Nas album of all fucking time, bro. Still gonna be my favorite Nas album. And I love I Am. I love Stillmatic. But It Was Written will always be my baby. That's my baby right there. I still bump It Was Written to this day. Front to fucking back. Salute to Nas. Because right there, what he did with that album, he set a motherfucking tone that no nigga would ever do. Had Kenya Moore. My nigga had Kenya Moore in that video, bro. Frank Vincent was in that video, bro. Hype Williams, big super movie budget he did on that video. Nas took it to another level. And a lot of niggas in that era wasn't taking it to the level that Nas was taking it with Street Dreams. That nigga's a visionary. Visionary, for real. So, I want to say salute. Salute to Nas. 25th anniversary of my favorite album, It Was Written. Go back and listen to that album, man. Because, in my opinion, I still think that album is better than Illmatic. And it was written, it's underappreciated, and I feel like it needs to be held up to the same standards, even higher standards than Illmatic, just because of what it did for Nas' career and just the levels that it took him and the heights that it took him. Because that album to this day is still a classic. Still a classic. Salute.